Hey, what's up, champions, and welcome to Growth Mode. I'm your host, Donnie Boivin, and I'm the CEO and founder of Success Champions. I spent over 20 years in the sales game, learning how to get better in sales, and then I started my own company because I was crazy enough to jump into that game. And I've spent the last 3.5 years learning how to scale and grow a business. Hanging out with me, as always, is my buddy Kevin Snow, the sales and automation tactician. This dude is an absolute genius on the back end of your company. You never want him out front. But he's always amazing doing the shit on the back side of the company, man. I love hanging out with this guy. So on this show, we're talking all things sales, business development, scaling and growing your business through the eyes of an introvert and an extrovert. Kevin, on this episode, what the heck are we talking about?
Hey, Donnie. Hi, everyone. So today I want to talk about something that's kind of been proliferating throughout the business world, and that whole idea around, don't care what people think. And I guess it's not just the business world that's coming at, but everywhere we're hearing that now. And I want to talk about how that attitude actually screws up your networking.
Yeah, this is fascinating for me. If people follow my content, I am seriously probably one of the biggest don't give a shit guys in the absolute world. You follow my content, follow where I'm at. I'm going to fucking drop F-bombs everywhere. I'm just going to talk, act, carry myself like I am. But there is a but to this. Some of you out there, you're just assholes. And there's a big difference between showing up authentically and being yourself and being a straight up asshole. So that's what I think we're going to focus on today is what's the difference of being authentic, being yourself, showing up, not giving a shit what people think, and then being an asshole. So that's where I'm going to hang out most of the day. Well, and where this comes from is I had a client for the longest time that used the phrase on a regular basis of, I am unapologetically myself. Well, good for you as you run your business straight into the fucking ground. Right? There's a time and place. And I have a couple of hard, fast rules that I always keep in business. But look, guys, I cuss like a sailor. I carry myself like I do. I'm in t-shirts, ball caps, and everything else. But if my grandmother was alive today and were to walk in this room, she'd get my utmost respect, right? And I'm not saying I could keep myself from cussing. I'm just saying it's going to hurt like a motherfucker when she beats the shit out of me for cussing in the first place. So go ahead, Kev. Where do you stand?
Well, I think what you just said is really key, and something I was always taught was that you have to respect the event and where you're at and understand what's going on around you. You can network anywhere and you can be yourself, but you need to understand what is appropriate for the occasion. You can network and generate business contacts at a funeral, but dropping the F-bombs in the church hall over the funeral lunch, probably not.
I'm gonna disagree on this one a little bit because real situation. So I went to a networking event in my small town for our local Chamber of Commerce, right? I just wanted to see what it was about. Chamber of Commerces haven't had a point to them in freaking years. They quit giving a shit about small business a long time ago. But I was curious in a small town what it would be like. And I talk like I talk, especially in a business setting. You're going to get this most time. So literally, I was there. A gal I knew was there. She was so excited that she brought this guy up to me because she knew that he was looking for podcast help, right? And so this guy comes up to me, and she introduces him as, Mr. Azel, Texas, right? Like everybody knows this guy, and this is the dude, and she's like, he is like Mr. Religion, Mr. blah, blah, blah. And, people were treating this guy like he walked on fucking water, like he was Jesus come back himself. And I'm like, hey, I'm Donnie, dude. I've heard a lot of fucking great things about you. Awesome to fucking meet you. And you should have seen the whole room go, right? They could not believe that at this business event that I just dropped an F-bomb. And I didn't drop an F-bomb because I was trying to consciously offend anybody. I dropped an F-bomb because that's how I talk. And the guy looked at me. He didn't skip a beat. He put out his hand, said, dude, great to meet you. I appreciate it. You show up like you always do everywhere you are. I've heard really good things about you. There was a couple of people that later in the event that walked right up to me and go, I can't believe you said fuck around him. I can't even believe you had that entire idea. And then another young lady came up. She goes, God, I wish I could be like you. I wish I could show up like that at all times. And for me, it's not about being unapologetically myself. It's about being myself. And I think when people use the phrase unapologetically, they're trying to pick a fight.
Yes.
I'm not trying to pick a fight. I'm just talking like I talk. And I do it because, truthfully, I want my people to show up. Right? I want my tribe. I'm not trying to reach the world. And, my nieces even bought me a t-shirt that says, you call them swear words, I call them sentence enhancers. And oftentimes it gets my point across. So there is a way to communicate that where you don't come across in a great phrase that was said by a guy Kevin and I both know, so you don't come across like a douche canoe, which I just think is a great phrase.
So to be fair, your nieces also call you Uncle No-No. So
This is true.
So there's that. Yeah. But I think that whole apologetically phrase is basically tacked on so that people can say, I'm going to act this way and you don't get to disagree with me.
I well said.
And I'm 100% right. And that is a whole other topic of conversation for us to have on a future episode about that mindset, because I'm not going to drive down that rabbit hole today. But that's really what's happening. There's a difference between saying, this is who I am, and being able to have a conversation with someone about why you're that way and why they may or may not approve of that, and being adults and saying I'm unapologetically myself, meaning you don't get to have an opinion about me.
Yeah, and well said. I 100% agree with that. And I'm running through my brain. Most times you and I, well, me more than you, I'm dealing with small business owners, right? You're dealing with more bigger corporations. So when I
larger small businesses,
okay, cool. All right, I don't even know what that means, but larger small businesses. So y'all figure out that oxymoron.
Yeah. Well, big corporations, people.
I'm working with small big businesses. What?
When you say you work with big corporations, he works with IBM. No, I work with companies that have 10 to 15 employees usually.
Fair enough. But if I'm jumping on a Zoom call with somebody, they're always going to ask, how you doing? And my response is awesome, great, badass, and wonderful, but I'm getting better, right? It's the old Zig Ziglar move of telling, but it's the truth. Most days I'm doing pretty fucking cool. But part of me does that phrase because I'm gauging their response. And when I start saying awesome, great, you can kind of see them light up. When I say badass, they drop, right? I know this is going to be a different dynamic of a conversation. Does not mean that I'm going to change how I phrase things, but I am going to be trying to be more consciously aware of respecting them, if that makes sense. But a lot of times, people don't hear the word badass in business. So when I do bring it up, I get the smiles, right? I get the laughs. I get the, oh, that's great. And it helps them to put their guard down to realize this is going to be a different dynamic of a conversation as a whole. So I think for a lot of people, it's about respecting the people you sit across from, and having a real conversation, but not being an asshole about it. And I know people are going to be like, what are you doing that's making you an asshole? And it's really simple. You're unapologetically you. That's what makes you fucking an asshole. Because you're going to push your agenda without respecting theirs. And I think that's the way to look at the conversation. Do you agree?
I completely agree. I love that phrase, pushing your agenda without respecting theirs. I think that's huge. I think part of it is also that people are trying to have this shock effect, shock and awe with the personality that they're pushing across, and tying that in, that because it may not actually be them, it amplifies the asshole effect.
Yeah, I like that. Because, you get around a guy like me that cusses on a regular basis, there's a chance you may start cussing more if you don't cuss regularly.
Yeah, we had this with one of the members who was trying to be Donnie.
Yeah.
And it didn't fit because everyone knew it was not this person, how they normally are. And we got calls. It's like, Can you talk to so-and-so? They're trying to be you. We're like, what? They're trying to be Donnie? How does this work? But you get that you get that with, people trying to be like Gary Vee or any of the other big names. They want to have that personality and copy that feeling to get that tribe, that following, but it comes across all wrong because they're trying too hard.
Yeah, that's well. I mean, I don't know. It was like when I was in the Marine Corps, I went up with some good buddies of mine, still friends with, and we went up to New Jersey, and I hung out with them for a week. Right here, I am, a Texas boy, flying up to New Jersey, and now I'm hanging out with these Italian guys that talk like Italian Jersey guys talk. And by Thursday of a week-long time out there, next thing you know, I'm like, Fragazzi, what the fuck, huh? Which I don't talk like that at all, but I was around them so much that I was picking up their terminology, their phrases. This is to the point of you become the people you surround yourself with.
I was in Tennessee for 10 days. And I left there with y'all in my vocabulary. It has never left. And I had this southern drawl, and I came back to South Dakota, and they're like, what the hell happened to you? Because we have the Midwestern accent. We have TV accent, means, we sound normal. And I was talking really odd. It took me like a month to get the drawl completely out of my personality. And I was like, where did this come from? I do this when I travel. I hung around with a bunch of Scots at a conference, and all of a sudden I have a Scottish accent. I'm like, what the fuck? Right. Well, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be an ass. It just happens.
I took a training course from a bunch of guys in New York, and here I was in Texas trying to apply some of their tactics, and I sounded like I was freaking from New York. And let me tell you, if you're trying to cold call and sound like from New York and you're in Texas, that shit don't work. So there's a point to being you and consciously aware of showing up as you. I mean, you stick around me, you guys hear me pick on Kevin, that gets tenfold with everybody anywhere I'm at. I'm an equal opportunity asshole. And if you give me an inch, I'm going to bust your chops about anything. And some people really don't care for that. And I have to be cognizant of where I am. And instead of being a ball buster like I am on a regular basis, there are situations I really have to turn that down because people aren't used to it. And I'll be honest, that's really tough for me to do and to be aware of because I come from the youngest of two older brothers. I spent 4 years in the Marine Corps. I'm a blue-collar kid that grew up in a lifestyle that you better bust their chops quicker before they bust yours or you're going to get throttled. So for me, part of not being an asshole is learning to turn that portion of it down.
Yep.
So I'm not so freaking in your face, busting your chops when you first meet me. Because I can go back to when I was networking, before I launched my businesses, and I was at an event. Guy walked up and he was wearing a veteran cap, and I immediately busted his chops. And he took a step back and he goes, I don't understand your comment. And I'm like, wait, you're in a veteran cap. How do you get? He goes, oh, this was my grandfather's hat. I was never in the military. And everybody around me, you could see them go, oh, right? Because I was totally busting his chops for being an Army guy. And it made no context, no sense for him. But that's a great example of how you can just be an asshole by being unapologetically you and not knowing the territory you're in.
I'm always worried when I'm going to go hang out with my veteran buddies and I have a civilian friend that wants to come along. I'm like, oh, I like you and I would love to have you come, but I don't know how this is going to end because you're going to think we're all dicks.
Right.
And usually afterwards, like, all you all did was like torment each other and pick on each other. I'm like, yeah, that's what we do.
Well, I mean, to
like,
explain that.
Brothers.
Yeah, one of the greatest memes I've seen in regards to this, and then we'll finish this episode up, is there's a video of a veteran on his deathbed, and all his friends and family are around there talking to him, we're going to miss you, love you, everything else. Then a veteran buddy, you see him walk in the room, and the vet in the bed goes, hey, can y'all give me a minute? And everybody walks out, and you can see the family's kind of looking in the door as his vet buddy walks in and looks at him and goes, you dead yet? And the guy goes, not yet. And then his veteran buddy just leaves. His family walks in and goes, what the fuck was that about? He goes, he was just telling me he loved me. Right? In that moment of just walking up and saying, are you dead yet? That was everything. Because that's how we talk to each other on a regular basis. But that doesn't often translate into the regular world. And so sometimes even I have to really be cognizant of and aware of how I'm talking to people. So here's the thing. There's no such thing in my beliefs of being unapologetically you, because it's situational based. Yeah, I cuss everywhere I go, and I'm okay with that. That's how I carry myself, right? But I'm also very aware of my surroundings, situational awareness, and how I carry myself as I go all the way through. So what I want you to think about is, are you truly, truly being you? Or are your emotions getting the better of you in a moment and you're getting charged up, amped up, saying things when you shouldn't say things, and picking a fight just to pick a fight? Or are you proactively trying to have real conversations with people? And as always, guys, if you got anything out of this episode, any tidbits, tricks, things that can help you, do us a favor and teach somebody else how to subscribe to this. It means the absolute world to us. Grab their phone, have them subscribe and tune in and help us grow as everything we do. Appreciate and love you guys. We'll see you next time.